I definitely would have thought I could probably just do it, just be myself and just be happy that way and content. But God had different plans, and I have so enjoyed. And some of my closest friends are my homeschool moms, and then I've just had met such cool people with such beautiful character in my writing groups and homeschool groups, and
Yeah.
God knows better than me.
Welcome to the When I Grow Up podcast, where we talk about what people wanted to do when they grew up, what they do now, and how they got there. And today's guest, Krissy, is such a fun and calm conversation. It sounds weird to say that, but it was such a pleasure to get to talk with her about her journey in the world of writing and teaching. And you'll hear more about it as we talk. But I think one of my favorite takeaways from the episode was hearing how her journey has really stayed in a space that she felt called to be. And you'll hear it as she talks. She's such a calming presence. And so I'm excited to share her story with you. So let's go dive in. Hi, Krissy. Welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. I always like to start off with just asking every person, what is it that you wanted to do when you grew up?
Okay, so I have a few things. So when I was in elementary
That's okay.
school, yeah, I wanted to be an author. I was super into reading and creative writing, and in middle school, I don't really remember thinking much about that.
Hmm,
And then high school, I started out wanting to be an optometrist,
okay.
because I'd had eye surgery as a kid. And so I think, sometimes like you're kind of interested in what's going on. Um, and then that second part of high school, I started working at some daycares, and so I got really interested in working with kids, and so that part of it, I wanted to be a teacher.
It's so cool to hear all the different influences. I'm actually really curious. The first part, like when you were really little, you wanted to be an author. Do you know where that influence came from? Because the other ones, it sounds like there was some external experiences. Do you remember when you were little if there was reasons for wanting to write?
Yeah, I think I just really loved reading. I was really into Hank the Cowdog, and I do remember the author visiting us at school, and that was really cool. And then I don't know if you remember, used to the testing was toss test, the toss test.
Mm.
I'm dating myself, but that's okay.
No, no, you're good. You're good.
Okay, so
Also, it may be like where you are located versus me. It may be
okay.
called something
Oh,
different.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Texas. That could be a Texas.
Yeah.
And so I did really well on on the essay part, and so I got to be in the newspaper, and like it just kind of encouraged all that. So cool.
Yeah. I love that schools do that for kids where they celebrate those those things that they get to do. My youngest is in one of those art books where they basically collectively take art from a bunch of
That's
kids and
cool.
put it in a book. And I
That's
think
cool.
that it's really cool that there are publishing companies and organizations that will do that to get kids excited about
Yeah,
writing
really
and drawing
cool.
and all of those
That's like
things.
such a
Yeah.
worthy thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't sound like the optometrist part of you stayed around for too long, but you were also influenced
Yeah.
then
Yeah,
by some experiences.
that is kind of surprising. But I guess, yeah, I had that, and it's a little traumatizing because I had eye surgery and when I was pretty young, and that's a little traumatizing to somebody young. I think that kind of sticks with you. But yeah, I don't know why that didn't really stick. I guess I just got into education. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. What do you do now?
So now I am a teacher slash author. So
Mhm.
some of those did
Combine the 2.
kind of come to fruition.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
What grade do you teach?
So that is so with teaching, I started out in the public school, and I taught mostly second grade for several years. And then I had my kids, and I ended up homeschooling. And so we are on our 11th year of homeschooling somehow. I have a
Yeah.
sophomore and an eighth grader. And also the last 3 years I work at it's a school that supports homeschoolers. And so like 2 days
Awesome.
a week, yeah, it's a hybrid. And so 2 days a week I go and teach. This year I'm gonna have 30 students, 30 middle schoolers English. And then I give like lessons and work to the parents enough to meet those other days so they can work with the students. So we're kind of doing a hybrid thing now.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. I probably know a smidge more about homeschooling programs than average. I don't homeschool my kids, but I have a lot of friends who do homeschooling. And so
Okay.
I have a lot of conversations, and it is really nice the resources that are out there now
Yeah, there's
for
so much.
parents to homeschool and not feel alone in homeschooling at the same
So
time.
true. Yeah, there's so we just kind of happened to move. My happen's always God, but we happened to move into kind of a hub in the Houston area where there's just so many resources. The school this hybrid school I work at, I think they've been around like 25 years, and so it's a really cool. It's a lot, so many resources around here.
Yeah, and it's I know not every place has all of the resources, but I also know that there a lot of times with homeschooling, it's becoming more normalized too, and that makes it a lot easier to be able to get out and do that. Um, how how did you move into homeschooling? And also I want to hear about the writing as well. So we'll go to both, but specifically, how did you move into homeschooling?
Great question. So my husband was homeschooled. My husband and I are high school sweethearts. So I mean, we've kind of we've been married 23 years. So I've been around them a long time. But
Mhm.
they homeschooled in like the early 90s, and it was a lot less, common as it is today. And so I always kind of knew that it could be a possibility.
Sure.
And so yeah, I really prayed about it once we had our kids. And that's just the direction we felt God put on our hearts.
Mhm.
So,
What was that first year like for you?
my it is interesting because with my teaching background, I
Mhm.
had several years of teaching elementary school. And so I kind of had set everything up, kind of like I was used to. And it was really interesting because the curriculum part was really like 2 or 2.5 hours a day to get through that. And then we were a part of a homeschool support group too in our area. And so there's like calendar events, and we would go to the fire station or go to a field trip and that kind of stuff. So that was pretty fun. But it was so different than my public school background. It was just 2.5 hours and you're done with the curriculum, It's like, okay, let's go to the park.
You're like, is this supposed to be this easy
Yeah,
when
yeah,
you're
this is really
homeschooling?
fast. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
as the kids have gotten older, it's like every, few years it gets longer and longer and, more advanced curriculum and all of that. So it definitely takes longer now, but that was kind of a fun part of the elementary portion.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Have you ever had parts of the work that you're doing with homeschooling where it feels like not that you question, should I have done this, but more so of like, oh my goodness, this is not as easy as I expected, or this is the part that I definitely have to work a little harder at when you go through it?
Definitely. Once they passed elementary and then like, I don't know, halfway through middle school, my son is really math and science, and my husband is too. And so my husband's kind of helped with laying out what some of the math would look like. And he goes, I think our son is ready for geometry. And George was like in I think seventh grade at that point. And I'm like, okay.
You're like, I'm
Okay,
not.
because yeah, I'm an more English, and so math and science that's a little harder. And so we did geometry that year, and it was hard for me. And I was like readying myself constantly. I just lived and breathed geometry. And like I had my subject matter expert, my husband, that I was going to a lot and just, making sure I was ready. And we really fought for that year. And my son did
Mm,
great. And but that was probably one of my harder years.
yeah. Yeah, those transitions into the upper levels. And I mean, you're needing to learn and know the things that normally you're taught when you're in school. And it's the whole, am I going to need to know this? Well, yeah, I am because I got to teach all of it.
Yes. Yeah.
I love that.
The school that the hybrid school, they've kind of taken off like some of that, that load for me. And I am there on those other days as a resource, my husband and I. But that part has been it has been a big help, and so
Yeah.
that's been nice. That's been a good resource.
Well, and it sounds like that's something that you and your husband have been able to find more recently. It wasn't there at the beginning of your journey with your kids, but you stepped into it later, right?
Yeah, they have. They did. I'm not sure exactly how long they have an elementary part now to the school. I don't know exactly how long that's been around, but they meet one day a week. But I know that it's pretty popular. But yeah, we just kind of stayed bubbled for quite a while, and then there's also a group which is so cool, a part of our school that has we call it Super Friday, and they have every Friday they have all these teachers come in and and it starts I think in like even preschool, but they have all these kind of extracurricular classes. And so my daughter did sewing and crochet and perler beads, and that was kind of our first little branch out, to kind of go into different classes and getting our feet wet. So that was super
Yeah.
cool.
That is really cool, especially because it gives some like extra exploration into other interest areas, extracurriculars, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it was really cool, and you kinda it was really neat to see what they were interested in, what kinda stuck, Like, my son,
Yeah.
he did a Lego robotics class, and he thought that was super cool, yeah, and my
Hmm.
daughter, she loved the jewelry making, and so
Yeah.
it's
The
been fun.
crafty things.
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. And you also mentioned you are an author. So talk to me about that side of what you do.
Yeah. When I went in one of my college classes was analyzing children's literature, and that was like my favorite class. It was so fun.
Yeah.
We talked about J.K. Rowling and Tommy DePaulo, and that was just super fun. It kind of got my creative, kind of piqued my interest a little bit. And then after my first year of teaching, I was like, I really started getting into it because that first year of teaching, I did so much of the lessons with children's literature, and we just read so much. And so that was like 2008, and I've really been writing ever since. And so I have some children's chapter books published and picture books. I've really the Christian fiction really kind of resonates with me.
Yeah.
And so I have a book coming out in a month, and it's my first young adult Christian fiction. And so I'm pretty excited about that. And then I've also done been a part of some anthologies. And so that's been really cool too, because you get to kind of share the marketing burden. That's been really nice.
Yeah.
And there's
Hmm.
so many like social media groups now where I'm a part of like a Slack or a Facebook group of those authors, and you kind of have this cool community where you're kind of cheering each other on.
Hmm. Yeah. How did it, even getting into writing and becoming an author, how did that journey look for you on that end? Because I know a lot of people who will talk about wanting to write or wanting to be an author, but then the pathway to get there feels, I don't know if murky is the right word, but it just feels
There.
uncertain and with how you get there. So talk to listeners a little bit about what your journey from wanting to write to writing and all of that looked like.
That is such a cool question because it has been such a journey. I mean, even with technology from like 2008 until now, it's been
Yeah.
so different. So when I first started, I really knew nothing about agents. I didn't know that is kind of they're the gatekeepers a lot of times. They kind of say, and so I just like wrote, and then I just got it in my envelope, put my manuscript in there, sent it everywhere, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna have my publishing deal, in a couple, a month or something. And then you just start getting all these rejections back. It's like such a process. And so there's such a learning curve, I got into critique groups and writing groups, and that always makes you better, and you get such thick skin, because at first you just think this is it, and then but really two heads are better than one, and so that helped so much. I did have an agent for a while that I loved, and got some deals through her. And it has just been such a journey because I've really, I don't know, I've really started focusing more on, because I spend so much time, and I have this chunk of time that I'm not teaching. And so it's like, it's become really in my heart as a Christian. I've just kind of really fallen into, those genres, like, and that's where I'm spending my time, and so that's been really rewarding. And then I get into these communities with these other Christian authors, and it's just good for the soul. And so anyways, so now I've done a lot of small publishers, and that's actually been really cool. And so anyways, you kind of get friendships,
Yeah.
and yeah. So I guess that's mostly it.
Well, you do, like you said, you build communities in those spaces. And I hear that in both the homeschooling and in writing, like you've built communities. And it doesn't sound like, even though much of that can be seen as solo work, you have turned it around and said, no, like I need to make sure that there are people around me that I am supported by and who know this journey and can join me in it. Because it's ultimately not meant to be a solo path
So
for most
true.
people.
And I feel like that is God because I didn't I'm like half introverted. I mean,
Yeah.
a bit of a mix. And I definitely would have thought I could probably just do it, just be myself and just be happy that way and content. But God had different plans, and I have so enjoyed, and some of my closest friends are my homeschool moms. And then I've just had met such cool people with such beautiful character in my writing groups and homeschool groups. And God knows better than me.
Oh, yes. Always. You know what's really interesting to me though is you had it on your heart at a very young age to want to write. And maybe it was because of the author that came into your classroom. Um, but even the teaching and working with kids was from influences like you have always been impacted by people around you. And it feels like sometimes people like have something placed on their heart at a young age and they kind of wander a bunch, eventually getting to a place that fit some of those original stories or desires. But you really stuck with kind of the same spaces that you felt called to, is what I hear.
And yeah, I've never thought about that, but that is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Part of why I always ask the when I grow up question is because I love hearing that piece. I love hearing, like, where did you start? Because even kids, and what I will tell people is even kids, when you ask them, like, what do you want to do when you grow up? They can give you an answer, but it's not the specific of their answer, but it's the why behind that matters more. Like if I said, well, I can tell you my journey includes like, well, I wanted to be a zookeeper when I grew up. And then I learned that they worked on Christmas and I didn't want to work on Christmas. And so I didn't want to be a zookeeper anymore. But then I wanted to be a veterinarian because animals, like all of
Hmm.
this. But I learned that my heart was for caretaking. It wasn't necessarily for the love of animals specifically, but it was that caretaking element, which is where I ended up
Beautiful.
in kind of the therapy field for a very long time, which I still do. But um, I also love stories. I love hearing people's stories and talking about them.
That's beautiful. That's so beautiful. I love it. I love the caretaker.
Yeah,
Man, we need
yeah.
caretakers. We
Hmm.
can't have too many
Hmm.
caretakers.
No, especially nowadays, it feels like there's a lot of that need there. Hmm. Yeah. What is one of the ways that you have had to maybe overcome some obstacles, adversity, doubts, whatever it may be, like what is one of the ways that you've had to overcome something in that journey to get where you are?
For author, I would say just trying to figure out sometimes where my space is in it. It has felt murky at times, and there's different trends and just trying to figure out exactly what I have time for, how to kind of fit it into my life. I think that can be hard at times. Um, as far as teaching, no, I'd have to think about that. I guess just there's always something different. There's always um, like if maybe this curriculum isn't working, being ready to change. Being okay with change. That's kind of a big one with teaching to me. There's always and any job really. There's always some change, and you kind of can adapt or kind of not and kind of struggle with that. So I guess that would be it.
Yeah. Like being able to take those moments that are hard and still sit in them. Like be comfortable with those moments that are uncomfortable.
Oh man, that's so true. That is so true. And even just like different volunteer groups I've done around those things, or whatever it is. Yeah, there's always discomfort. You're so right. And like trusting God in it and not just kind of quietly panicking in the corner, like that trusting that God's got it and he's in the middle of it and he's working those good things for those that love him and so yeah, a lot of trust there.
Yeah. Did you ever have moments in the journeys where you kind of were asking God like, "Hey, this is feeling like it's taking a while. Uh is this really going to happen?" Like whether it was I think probably more with the writing, especially because
Yeah.
that would have been in the hands of other people a little bit more. But even with the teaching, like did you ever have moments where you were kind of asking God like, "I don't know if this is the right place. Like I'm going to need your help here a little bit."
Yeah, with writing, it really is just, is this what you want from me? Is this, you know, and you're just praying and maybe you're taking a chance on a smaller publisher, and they're taking a chance on you and that relationship
Yeah.
and, just kind of seeing, how that's going to go. And then with teaching, with homeschool, there's so much parenting and just maybe it's a hard moment for your kid and it kind of goes parenting teaching right and just trying to do teach how God wants you to parent how God wants you to. Maybe your kid is in a tough moment and just having the patience to go through that with them and the right words. And I'd probably say on teaching, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It makes sense that there is in both spaces those moments of pausing and asking for that help and that support and everything. Mhm. Yeah. What is if if there's anything that you would want people to remember about our conversation today, or if there's anything that we haven't kind of said that you're like, ooh, I need people to know this one piece, what would that be for you?
Probably the best advice, I guess, is just to be having your quiet time, be in the Bible, having prayer time, because there's so many obstacles that just feel so much bigger than me and like bigger than my shoulders, whether it's teaching, writing, or whatever. That I need that supernatural help and I need that like that open line with God, and so I guess I would say that just be, listening to God's word and listening to Him, and because He can get you through any obstacle.
It sounds like you're saying you couldn't do what you do without God's help.
Yeah. Oh, 100%, 100%. It would be it. I would do. It would be so much worse. Yeah.
Well, I know you mentioned that you have some books and um that you are also putting one out here soon. Depending on when this episode releases, it may be out already. I don't know. But how can listeners find you and find the books that you have published so far?
Sure. Yeah, I can send you to like my website,
Absolutely.
amberlychristymco.com.
Yes.
And then my publisher's website, Beyond the Bookery, and it'll be on Amazon. It's called Roll Away, is the one that's coming out in about a month. I'm really excited about it. It's about it's really cool too because that's the first time I've done dual perspective, and so
Ooh, I love dual
yeah, me
perspectives.
too. I do. And so it's between two main characters, Riker and Nora, and they do, they're kind of their experience get to know each other, but they're also on rival cycling teams. And so they're
Mhm.
trying to earn a full ride for college. And so you kind of have that back and forth. And so I'm pretty excited about it. It's be fun to kind of get it out there. But yeah, I think it's already on pre-order on Amazon. At least the digital is, but it'll be in paperback and ebook. So yeah, I'll give you those links.
Yes, please do. I will post them in the um call it the show notes, the description, all of those pieces because I always want to make sure people can find you. Um because yeah, you talk about it with such passion. It sounds like a really fun, and it's your first time. Like it sounds like a fun book. I need to finish my sentence. But also like being able to step out into dual perspective writing and things like that. I know that takes risk to write something new in a new style, but it also can be really exciting to do that.
Yeah, so it's so true, and the cool thing that has my heart too about it is there is like a becoming a Christian kind of salvation story threaded kind of throughout it, and so that has my heart too. I'm just as excited about that as the kind of adventure in cycling. So
Yeah. Yeah, very fun. And a fun theme. I wouldn't like I heard you say roll away and I was like, "Oh, I wonder what that's about." Um and then you said cycling. I'm like, "Oh, I know what that's about." So that's really fun. I love
yeah,
it.
I love to cycle. I once upon a time, one of my hats was I'm a certified Schwinn instructor, and so I used to teach a spin class. So yeah, indoor cycling. So yeah, that was kind of a fun thing to do.
Mhm. Always have a little bit of a teacher's heart in you then from the sound of it. So
That's true. I didn't even think about that. That's true.
Yeah. I think sometimes we have those little side quests or side gigs or whatever that still tap into that original part of us. It's like, well, I still want to teach people. Like you've always needed community. From everything I hear, like people have always
I never
mattered to
even thought
you.
about that. So
So,
that is so
yeah.
fun to hear you say.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I It's what I listen for. So, yeah. I want to just thank you again for being on the show today. It is such a beautiful journey to hear how yours has been full of prayer and reflection and staying in this space of being where you were called even when you've had those moments that you're like, "Oh, okay, I need to wait this one out or I need to like pray through this one." Um I can hear that your faith has been a big part of all of that too. And I appreciate you sharing all parts of your story with listeners.
Thank you so much for having me and my gosh, you make it so like natural and fun and
Aw.
just a conversation. I so enjoyed it this morning. What a great way to start your day.
Yeah, it's been a wonderful day to start my day. It's been so fun. So
You
thank
too.
you.
Thank you.
So one of the things that I heard a lot in Chrissy's story, and we talked about it, but is that sense of needing community. Like she has always been influenced by people around her in good ways, like those people that encourage her, that connect with her. And then she's had this desire to also always have connections around her, to feel supported and to experience that community. And what a beautiful story that is woven throughout her career journey. She may not have been able to do most of it without those connections. And especially, as she said, she couldn't have done any of it without God. If you've ever wondered about pursuing careers with meaning, I hope that you will start conversations with the people around you. Start talking with the people nearest to you because they know you well. And I hope that as you've listened today, that this has encouraged you to know that no matter where you're at in your career journey, there are still pathways that can open to you that help you find that fulfillment you're seeking. So until next time, take care.